and we take that money away from them and we put it into the operation of the jail district. To me, that is unfair to the county people. And the thing is, you cannot read into that ballot title that means Berryville and Green Forest get free services. That's saying that all the money we get has to go to the operation, which it does. But that ballot does not read that we cannot charge them for services and they're entitled to free services.
Ron?
I understand what the sheriff's saying, and I agree with you, Larry. Our job is to deal with money. All we can do, and we're told this repeatedly, is allocate and appropriate the county's money the way we see fit. Our only real power during the year is during budget time, because other than that, we can't tell anybody how to run their office. We can't tell anybody how to do their job. We have no say in anything except when it's time to budget and appropriate money for the different departments. Now, I think this ordinance is a valid attempt to create a central dispatch that satisfies what the voters were voting for. All I'm saying is we have to be careful not to let this ordinance cover more than it should. And I want to ask David a question about this in just a second. But we need to be careful not to let this ordinance get so broad that it requires the sheriff to do things that he's not otherwise required to do. And my understanding on that, and I really don't understand Galen's point about the validation, because I'm not sure what validation of ACIC stuff means. But I think that the cities, the ones that have the warrants and have the information, need to be responsible for being sure that that is correctly entered into the ACIC system. They need to be sure that it's correct. I'm concerned about basically 3 words in this ordinance at the end, and my computer shut down. Can I see your second tab? Where it says, the last line, including but not limited to full access to, and the words I'm concerned on are and support relating to ACIC. I think saying they have full access to ACIC is fine. I'm not sure that we want to make our sheriff's dispatch office responsible for support of everything in ACIC for everyone else. That's my point. And David, what do you understand support to mean?
Sir, there are a lot of little nuts and bolts that these gentlemen certified in ACIC understand and I don't. I don't know who does the auditing. I don't know who does the validation. But in general terms, entry of a political entity's warrants would not necessarily, at least under any statute that I know of, be bundled in with dispatch or 911. Now, that said, the output from ACIC, I mean, that goes to the heart of the issue. And if I may just expand upon your question briefly, sir, to get to what Mr. Garrison brought up, there's 2 dimensions to this document. Is it legal, and is it what you really want? Is it appropriate? I can only address the legal part. And if this document passes the way it is, it doesn't necessarily cover entry of warrants. But at some point, you can't go any further without violating separation of powers. When an executive is elected to an office, they get latitude in running that office. Now, we're all accountable to one person or another for properly executing elected offices. But when the money is doled out and you put your strings on that money saying we expect this to be part of it, you have a great deal of latitude in doing that as well. That is both constitutional and in agreement with the Title 14 statutes. So my understanding, sir, to answer your question, is that entry of warrants might not necessarily be covered with this language, because it's not plain from common usage, that sort of thing. So that's just the legal answer. But I notice that we're darting between legal and policy. Policy is up to other people, not our office.
That's right. I believe it. Mayor, next.
Hadn't been to two Quroum Court meetings in 20 years till all this started. You know, I think what the cities are asking for, and, you know, I've met with the sheriff and tried to come to solutions. I've sent out memos to our police officers saying try to comply with this jail policy. I've met with him, and, you know, he said, asked him over repeatedly, if the EMT says they can go to jail, they go to jail. And then there's signs on the wall saying, but that, all that being said, you know, this is not free service. This is what the taxpayers are paying for, and that's what was on the ballot title, and everything was working really well until this all started. I agree with Mr. D, 100%. You know, we need to just get back to business. My only reason for being here is this is what the people voted on. It's been working fine for years, and I want our officers to have the full protection of a good dispatch when they're out there on the field, and we're not going to accept anything less. The ordinance says the same services as a dispatch, as a deputy get. That's all we want. Put this thing to bed, let's get back to business.
Don?
I'd like to ask the Sheriff a couple of questions. Sheriff, if you run the tags, how tags get ran? And, if your office doesn't run tags, I'm not sure how all that works anyway, but...
They would do that through, if they wanted to go to Eureka Springs run, or they can have their own ACIC clerk. Internal, they could do it themselves.
And then another thing, you know, Sheriff, you're saying it's costing you more than you're going to deficit there. I've been in retail most of my life. When we sell stuff, we got to make a profit. Now, you may not want to make a profit, but if your services are costing you more than you're taking in, it seems like the simple answer would be is to charge the cities a higher price than just a phone line. So just increase your price to help pay for your expenses on the men entering the information.
I missed that.
Basically, raise your price. If the cities are, you're not making enough money to do this information for the cities, so we charge it for your phone line. Figure out how much you need to break even, and then tell the cities that's what they need to be paying you. That's
but that, you know, the one thing that a lot of people here are missing is that if you go back in the history of ACIC, back in the early 80s when ACIC was first coming on board, they were very, very strict and very limited as to who they would provide the services to. Back then, if you go to the early 80s, what was the size of Green Forest, Variable, and Eureka Springs? So we got the ACIC. The ACIC gave it to us, and we provided services to the others because they didn't qualify for a terminal. ACIC wouldn't give them. Things have changed in 30 years. Now, why this wasn't brought up sooner is that when I became sheriff, we reached out, we sent out a memo to all of the counties that they have an overpopulation of prisoners. We would bring them in. We made, in 5 years, $1.5 million just housing prisoners for other counties. The mortgage on that jail was close to $500,000 a year. We were paying the mortgage by bringing in prisoners from other counties, programs that we came up with. Had we not done that, we would be in serious financial problems today. And what I don't understand, if the ballot reads, every penny goes to the operation of jail dispatch, and it is, all I'm asking you is to tell me, where does it say in that ballot title, if you see that all the money, and Cindy could verify that all the money goes for the operation of jail and dispatch, where does the wording of that ballot title say that if we're running in the red, that we will continue to provide free services to the cities, but the county people are going to have to pay the difference? And that's what's happening right now. And thank goodness for those 5 years we did bring in that $1.5 million because we would be in serious trouble today had we not done that.
Sir, may I push your question real quick? If it involves an agreement between political entities, you know, it has to be renegotiated with those political entities, so it wouldn't be strictly up to the sheriff to pass along the middle.
Mayor?
I was just going to comment on the comment of the county and the cities that you just made there in your last sentence, that the city is county people too.
Yeah, but if we have to make up the difference, it comes out of county general, then the
But that those city people that are county people are still paying taxes too.
not in the county general, no.
Let's, I need to clarify something about that.
Wendy?
County general's not going into this. And it won't. Not without ordinance and jeopardizing other county finances. And I don't know where that comes from. Anything not covered by, this tax, which is 911 and jail. Anything not, and then, of course, the road has their, but everything else comes out of county general. It cannot take much more. So, at that point, for the county finances to stay at the level we need them to stay, somebody will have to cut somewhere. And as far as verifying whatever he's saying, until I can look at what he's looking at, the truth of the matter is that before this last, I believe it's 2 years, the legislature made these new laws. We're going to let people back out on the street. So we are not taking as many people in the county jails to keep for the state. So we're not getting that money. Now, we have allowed for all that in our budget. Our budget is still fine, and we're still about $200,000 ahead than what we were last year. Now, I verify that, and I don't know what else is out there.
Now, when you say 200,000 above what we were last year, you're talking about the money that this half-cent sales tax goes to, central dispatch and jail operation and...
Yes, sir, I am.
So we're about 200,000 ahead of what we were last year. Check that your bank. Check that your phone back in that.
Chuck, you have your hand up?
Yes, sir. Sheriff just got through giving a history class on 911 and dispatch, jails. I was in office when it started back in way back in the 90s. Phil Jackson was the county judge. I was the sheriff. He approached me, he said, we're getting 911, and it's going to be in your office, and you're going to handle it. And that's the way it evolved. Mr. Straub was involved in that at that time. Everybody worked together, we got this thing together, and made it work. The sales tax was passed, built the jail, that was all designated to run a jail and the dispatch. My question, I'd like somebody to answer me. When, now I've been out of law enforcement for a long time, but when did a jail and the sheriff's office go from being a service-providing entity to a money-making business? I haven't been able to understand that. You make do with what you've got. You do the best you can for all the people in this county, the way I look at it. The sheriff may have a different interpretation of his office. But as a citizen of Carroll County, I see it that everybody deserves everything they can get from what's available.
Thank you. Sheriff?
We talk about having an additional $200,000, but the money that's in that fund right now is that we have other programs in the jail that we started that are adding to that sales tax. The sales tax is not enough to cover expenses because right now there is a jail tax fee that's bringing in close to $50,000 to $60,000 a year that goes in with the sales tax to pay for the operation of the jail and dispatch. We have booking fees. We have the commissary, which is bringing in close to $30,000 a year to help pay for medical expenses in the jail. So if we were to do away with all of those programs that are adding money into that account, we would be operating in the red. There wouldn't be any carryover at the end of the year. We would just be working in the red. And the thing is, if you work in the red, like Chuck is saying, cut resources, okay? Right now, there are 2 jails that have been shut down. You got Phillips County and Crawford County got a letter in their jail being shut down. Because by minimum standards, by jail standards, if you get below a certain level, which puts your inmates and your jailers at risk, the jail standards will shut you down. So we just can't, we have to make money to keep the jail operating. So if you want to see what happens with the jail, go to Newton County. See what's happening there. They don't have a jail. They have to take their prisoners to the other counties. Crawford County now is sending their inmates to Washington County, Benton County, and we're starting to get some of their inmates.
Larry?
Newton County has a jail that hasn't opened because when they passed a tax to build a jail, they sunsetted that tax. And they built the jail, and they don't have the money to operate the jail now. There were some people looked at this when the jail tax was passed a long time ago in Carroll County. And we knew that it was going to take more money to run the new jail than it did the old jail. And I've explained this to people in my area lots of times on why that should be. That there's things that you get away with an old jail. For instance, when we had dispatchers and jailers that were doing the same job, that you can't when you move into a new facility. There's new regulations. That is the reason that I have explained to people over the years that we didn't sunset the jail tax, was because we knew that we were going to need it to operate the jail. But I know that there is also a lot of sheriffs out there that wish that they had an ongoing half-cent sales tax with no sunset clause on it to help run their jail.
Lamont?
Judge, we keep scratching at old wounds. This thing came up because the sheriff announced that as of a certain date, he was going to cease providing certain services. We asked Devin to come up with an ordinance to further define the ballot title in terms of what central dispatch means. Devin came up with what we have before us today. Following last month's meeting, I asked for some further clarification because we started talking about clerical functions versus functions like running tags. And it was Devin's opinion that clerical functions are not included in central dispatch. For purposes of moving this on, I would like to offer an amendment to the ordinance to strike everything after the second two and the next to the last line of the last paragraph. So that line will read, the deputy sheriffs, including but not limited to full access to, and then the new language is information from the data system maintained by the Arkansas Crime Information Center, ACIC. So that everybody will be entitled to information from ACIC, but it does not include clerical functions.
I'll second that.
And Lamont? Have a motion to amend. Ron, second.
If I can speak for a moment on that?
Yes, sir.
I am just truly concerned about the cessation of the opportunity for any law enforcement officer in this county to have access to ACIC information, regardless of who they are, where they are. It needs to be done from a central location. That is my understanding of what central dispatch is. That it's a central location so that any police officer in the county can access that information, and it's something that is paid for by the county.
Any more discussion?
Vote on the amendment?
Yes, by the sales tax.
Thank you, roll call.
Yeah.
Would you call the roll on the vote on the amendment, please?
Mr. Eden?
Yes.
Mr. Flake?
Yes.
Mr. Garrison?
Yes.
Mr. Howerton?
Yes.
Mr. McNeely?
Yes.
Mr. Mills?
Yes.
Mr. Phillips?
Yes.
Mr. Reed?
Yes.
Mr. Ritchie?
Yes.
Mr. Ray?
Yes.
Mr. Spocker?
Yes.
Amendment passed.
I call the question on the ordinance.
Vote on the ordinance as amended.
And we vote on the ordinance now as amended?
Mr. Deaton?
Yes.
Mr. Flake?
Yes.
Mr. Garrison?
Yes.
Mr. Howerton?
Yes.
Mr. McNeely?
Yes.
Mr. Mills?
Yes.
Mr. Phillips?
Yes.
Mr. Reed?
Yes.
Mr. Ritchie?
Yes.
Mr. Ray?
Yes.
Mr. Spocker?
Yes.
Judge, I move to suspend the rules and place this ordinance on its second reading by title only.
I second that.
Lamont moved. Galen second, for title only. Ms. Jimmy, would you call the roll, please?
Second reading by title only.
Move the ballot.
Be it enacted by the Quroum Court of the County of Carroll, State of Arkansas, an ordinance to be entitled, an ordinance directing that Carroll County tax funds appropriated for use in central dispatch be used in accordance with the voter-approved purpose.
Any discussion?
I'd like to ask the sheriff a question. When we pass it, what will it require you to do? More manpower? I mean, are you gonna have more help? Are we gonna have to deal with the budget? What do you see happening?
John, the only issue is, the thing is, you're at minimum staffing for both the jail and dispatch. So the only thing is, like last year, you gave us a 10% budget cut. We are now at minimum staffing for the jail, we're at minimum staffing for dispatch. So we can make do with what we're doing, that's fine, but if you're looking at any kind of a budget cut, we can't do that.
Larry?
I don't see any need for any more people, it's something that we're doing now, but we're talking about quitting doing. So, it's,
Any more discussion?
Well, I'd just say, if there's a shortfall, if the sheriff needs more money to operate, we have to give him the money, and that's when we go to county general to get the money. And we have to get the money out of county general if to operate the jail and central dispatch if we don't have it in the fund. If the sales tax fund doesn't have the money, then we have to make it up.
Well, what other offices are you going to cut?
I'm not talking about cutting anybody. What I'm saying is we have to keep the jail and dispatch operating, and we have to do that. If we don't have the money in the jail tax fund, we have to take it out of county general.
But I told you that
And we have to do that for every office, Cindy. I mean, I'm not saying that we're cutting anybody. I'm just saying that it's our job to find the money to operate the jail and central dispatch. Those are functions of the county that we have to sustain, and we have to find the money if it's not in the jail tax fund. So the only place we can get it otherwise is the county general fund. And on that line, if we have to spend more money, if we have one of these disasters at the jail that the sheriff's talking about, where the software and the computers go down, and we have to replace equipment, or if the jail computer system goes down so that the locks don't work and it requires more people, we have to buy that. We have to find the money to buy that somewhere, and the only significant source we can find money at is county general. We can cut the sheriff's budget if we want. We can cut the budget for the sheriff's office. I mean, he's got the only hazardous material disposal office in the county, but we don't have to fund that. We can defund that. We can defund parts of the sheriff's operation. He has a first-class sheriff's office that provides lots of services for this whole county. But our job is to find the money to operate it, and it's more important to us to operate the jail and central dispatch than it is to have the hazardous material disposal office, if that's what it takes. We can't defund the sheriff to take deputies off the road. We have minimum deputies on the road right now, so we can't reduce staffing significantly. And the biggest part of our budget is personnel for all departments. So we don't have any fat in the sheriff's office unless you get rid of departments like his investigators, his hazardous material people. Who else do you have that we can get rid of, Sheriff?
What hazardous material people do we have?
The guys who go out to when you have a meth lab or something, the guys have to go out and secure the scene, and don't you have people that do that?
Yeah, that's our CID, we are the only ones certified in the county to clean up labs, otherwise.
That's what I'm talking about.
The city can't do it.
That's what I'm talking about. We have the only ones that do that. But all I'm saying is we're gonna have to make choices if we don't have enough money. And the choices come down to how we spend the money that we have in county general. So, we have to provide central dispatch. This ordinance is an attempt to keep central dispatch going and keep the citizens happy with the way their tax money's being spent and provide the services we're supposed to provide. So let's get on with it.
I remember before I came to JP, so like 8 years ago, I was coming to Quroum Court meetings, kind of studying what's going on. And at that time, Mr. Fry, and Larry might be helping us this with the city, asked the sheriff, said, "You're $60,000 over budget. What are you going to do about it?" And I wonder how they fixed that, because the sheriff didn't show up next meeting when they asked him to come back next meeting with the plan. So I can see how we could get our county jail and sheriff's office in trouble if we don't keep enough money somewhere. And New County's hoping to get a grant to open up for a couple of months. We're hoping to do. We're going to have to close back down if they get their grant, which I don't make sense there.
Yes.
I got one question, this is the sheriff's office. You've done a good job of running a black every year. And you said a lot of the extra services you do every year makes that happen. Are you planning on quit doing those services? That's why we're worried about being in the red, or that's my question.
You know, Jack, you've been in law enforcement a long time.
Yep.
And I've been in law enforcement all over the United States.
Mhm.
And probably in 7 different cities that I have been in, every now and then, when it becomes an issue with the budget for the police department, they have what they call the blue flu. And that was a way they would cut services, and finally they would get together and they would renegotiate the contracts. You are very, very fortunate here in Carroll County to have very dedicated officers, because regardless of some of the things that have been said by Berryville and Green Forest, all of my people know they're going to continue to provide a certain service and back up all the departments that need to be. We don't have any intentions of cutting out any programs, any services, or anything that we're doing.
That was my question, because right now, that's keeping us in the black. And I appreciate that.
Any more discussion? All right.
Every year, we don't know what any office here, when it comes to budget time, could be facing. I mean, we could have computers problems in treasurer's office, county clerk's office, whatever. We could have problems when we get the sheriff's office budget for jail and dispatch, when that time comes. Right now, we're not adding an expense. We're talking about keeping the status quo of what is already happening. That's all that this ordinance really is.
That's right.
Any more discussion? Call for the vote.
Mr. Deaton?
Yes.
Mr. Flake?
Yes.
Mr. Garrison?
Yes.
Mr. Howerton?
Yes.
Mr. McNeely?
Yes.
Mr. Mills?
Yes.
Mr. Phillips?
Yes.
Mr. Reed?
Yes.
Mr. Ritchie?
Yes.
Mr. Riggs?
Yes.
Mr. Slaughter?
Yes.
Second Amendment passed.
Second read.
Yes. Judge, I move to suspend the rules and place this ordinance for its 3rd reading by title only.
Second.
Lamont made the motion, Ron second. Title only.
Be it enacted by the Quroum Court of the County of Carroll, State of Arkansas, an ordinance to be entitled, an ordinance directing the Carroll County tax funds appropriated for use in central dispatch to be used in accordance with the voter-approved purpose.
Any discussion? Call for the vote.
Mr. Deaton?
Yes.
Mr. Flake?
Yes.
Mr. Garrison?
Yes.
Mr. Howerton?
Yes.
Mr. McNeely? Mr. Mills?
Yes.
Mr. Phillips?
Yes.
Mr. Reed?
Yes.
Mr. Ritchie?
Yes.
Mr. Swap, or Mr. Riggs?
Yes.
Excuse me, Mr. Swap.
Yes.
Yes.
Third. Amendment passed. Now, we done with that. Next item of business is JP's comments, non-agenda items. John?
Just let you know, the Ozark Regional Transit Board of Directors voted to terminate the management agreement with First Transit, Inc., effective 31st of December this year. First Transit has been the management contractor for ORT since the inception of ORT, and the board decided that we're well enough established now that they could take that management in-house and save the money, and so that will go in effect the first of the year. I just also comment that our driver here for Ozark Regional Transit says that he can handle more customers, and so if you have people that needing rides, that let them know about the Ozark Regional Transit.
Anyone else? Sure. For you, JP?
I got some good news. Some time ago, I think about a year and a half ago, we had the problem with the overpopulation. The state passed a law where they cleaned out the ADC and all the non-violent criminals were put on probation and parole, and it put a burden on the counties, and everybody realized it's not going to work. Well, as a result of that situation in Little Rock, where the individual who had just recently been paroled ended up raping and killing someone, and all of a sudden the head of ADC had to resign from their post. Last month alone, probation and parole violated 31 people here just in Carroll County alone. So you're going to be seeing our population go up because of this, and I'm glad to finally see that, because it was creating a serious problem with the counties and the state. But hopefully, maybe down the road, another year, we'll be able to start bringing somebody in like we had in the past.
Any more JP comment?
I don't know how to think. Very quickly, I was contacted by an individual regarding the veterans representative here, Mr. Paul Boss. It is a part-time position. I understand the county pays half of that, and the Veterans Administration pays the other half. And it was expressed to me that we have just under 2,700 vets here in Carroll County, and a part-time person can't do it all. I doubt seriously, and I've not been able to contact the Veterans Administration to know who even to talk to, that they're going to want to pay a full-time position. We might consider putting on another part-time or half-time position, which might go down a little easier with our Veterans Administration. I don't really know how we can move forward in this, or what we should do. I just want to bring it to the table.
Ron?
I wanted to ask you if you've had any volunteers or heard from anybody for the Citizens Facilities Committee that was recommended last time.
I was still working on an outline for that, so I had been, yes.
Okay, so several people have asked me about it, and I've told them to talk to the judge.
Okay.
So nothing's happened on that so far. Okay, also, we had a water committee meeting yesterday, our new, to work on the county rural water system. Don McNeely couldn't make it, but John Reeve and Lamont showed up for us, and I was there, and we had Press and Randy Forrest, the county extension agent, and we discussed it, and based on the research that we've done, we really think that the most workable form of entity to use for a rural water system is the Public Facilities Board that we did last time. Based on researching the law, I think Lamont and I agree that there are some changes we can make to the way we set it up last time that will give the county, the Quroum Court, a little more control down the road and answer some of the questions and problems that we were concerned about with the old ordinance. One of the big ones was the bidding procedure. I think that, and we're working on this, and we're asking Devin for some help, I think we can solve some of these problems and work that direction towards putting together a PFB that we can refer to the voters, answering many of the complaints and questions we had last time. The other thing that we decided that we're trying to move forward on is establishing the need for a rural water system. We're going to various rural agencies. Randy is going to go to talk to cattlemen's and other people he deals with as the extension agent about getting some letters in, some information in, saying whether they need rural water, what they need it for, and so we're moving forward. We're short on time now. We've got less than a year to get this ready if we're going to get it on the ballot November 14, which was the plan. So we are moving forward, and anybody who has any input, or if you know anybody who has expressed a need, or somebody who said they don't need it, if they will get the information in, we've asked Randy at the Extension Office to be the central point to collect that information. So anybody who has something to say about rural water, yes or no, about the need for it, should contact his office. And I think that's all I have.
Anyone else? Don?
Just a question. I guess part of the kick last time on rural water was not enough information out there. You do plan on having information meetings down the road in various parts of the county, is that correct?
Yeah, after we get set up, we want to have some public hearings and sit down with whoever wants to come and discuss what we're doing. We want to get more information out. We've asked the press to help us get the information out and let people know what we're doing. We're trying to make this as transparent, open, and participant friendly as possible.
I just want to make sure that the press was aware that there would be meetings.
I hope we've learned something from last time.
Also, the budget committee met yesterday also to get things rolling on that. We're going to ask the officials to get their budgets turned in as quickly as possible so we can get started. Our first meeting was the 12th of September. We'd like to have all those in front of us so we can begin looking them over and seeing what we've got and what we can do.
Johnson, next
Quick
quarter.
question, Mark, were the facilities committee gonna look at some of this?
This is the first I saw about it, but,
Y'all think about looking at it?
yeah, I think it's fine.
I do too.
That's part of that money, wasn't it?
Yeah, it was 2,500, you know.
The only problem of it is, you all recommended list the other place at the last meeting.
For 3 years.
So I did that.
Yeah, that's what John.
You extended the lease on it
Yeah.
for 3 years. Yeah, good.
That's you all's recommendation.
At the same price, or at the price that we were talking about, though?